This week marks the 24th anniversary of the Prince of Persia series. From the Apple II all the way to the tablet, these games have been a staple to the gaming scene, even inspiring some of our most favorite games of all time. To celebrate this momentous occasion, we here at Shacknews want to take a look at this gem in the desert game series. The Prince of Persia series can be broken up into three basic categories: the original trilogy, the Sands of Time saga, and other. In 1984, a Yale student named Jordan Mechner created a game called Karateka, a beat-em-up where you traverse through Akuma's castle to save your love. The success of this game helped pave the way for Jordan to create Prince of Persia in 1989 for the publishers Bund. This marked a huge breakthrough for animation in video games. Using film of his brother in white clothes, Jordan used rotoscoping to capture the motion for the main character. Traversing through 12 levels, the player must save the Sultan's daughter before time runs out. And you only have an hour, real time, to beat the game. The game mixes a blend of parkour movement with one-on-one duels. Prince of Persia was regarded as a fantastic game, praised for its cinematic feel and tight controls. The game has been ported to over 20 consoles over the years. 4 years later, Bund released Prince of Persia: The Shadow and the Flame. The sequel added on to what made the original great and then upped the ante. Instead of staying in the palace dungeons like the first game, the prince travels to distant lands to save the princess once again. One notable difference with The Shadow and the Flame is that instead of sword dueling with one guard at a time, you are assaulted by a plethora of enemies like a wounded piñata at a 5th grade party. There isn't a live system, so you're free to die as many times as you please. However, the game also kept the time limit mechanic from the first game, so instead of losing lives, you only lose precious time. In 1999, Red Orb Entertainment picked up the Prince of Persia torch to create Prince of Persia 3D for the Windows and Mac. Sadly, the development team ran into some major financial problems which caused them to release the game early. So early that the game didn't fully go through the bug detection and correction stage, which isn't good. Avalanche Software ported the game to the Dreamcast in 2000 and did their best to flatten out some of the problems of the game, but it still remains lukewarm. Prince of Persia 3D marked the end of the original trilogy, and the start of a 3-year hiatus for the series. Ubisoft brought Jordan Mechner in to work on a reboot of the franchise for modern players. With Mechner backed by the team that created Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, the Sands of Time saga was born. The first installment, aptly named Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, tried to resurrect the action-adventure genre into the 3D world, and the result was a smashing success. Well, kind of. The game is critically acclaimed and is considered the forefather for the Assassin's Creed and the Batman Arkham series, with acrobatic combat and movement. But the sales did not reflect the praise. The second installment of the Sands of Time series was Warrior Within, which Jordan Mechner had no part of, and you can easily see that. I'm not saying Warrior Within was bad by any means, it's just a departure from the aesthetic Mechner created to something a little darker. But the game series was 15 years old by 2004, so if we're allowed to have a moody teenage phase, then I think we can forgive Prince of Persia. Once again, the Prince of Persia sequel brings more of the core elements established by the first game while bringing more combat into the foreground. In 2005, the final chapter of the Sands of Time saga, Prince of Persia: Two Thrones, or Rival Swords depending on what console you got it for, was released. The game blends the past two games of the Sands of Time saga with mechanics and tone. The prince seemed to have added some points into his dexterity stat, with smoother stealth mechanics and more efficient parkour skills. The game has favorable reviews, but nothing compared to the praise that the first game in the saga received. Two Thrones marked the end of the Sands of Time saga, but not the end of the series. There are 4 other games that have been spliced through the Prince of Persia timeline to act as a filler or stories that are placed in between other games. Forgotten Sands introduces element mastery as a new element to gameplay. The Battles of Prince of Persia is a turn-based tactics game with collectible card game mechanics on the Nintendo DS. Another DS game, The Fallen King, is a side-scrolling platformer that requires synergy between the 2 playable characters, the Prince and Zal, with touchscreen controls. And in 2008, Ubisoft gave Prince of Persia a facelift, giving it a new art design, new feel, and a really strange headpiece. Some of these games are considered good, others, not the worst, but nothing really amazing. But is that it? Are we done with the Prince of Persia franchise? Well, back in 2012, there was a leaked image of a game Ubisoft was working on called Project Osiris, and many fans assumed that it was the next Prince of Persia. But that was quickly debunked. Ubisoft did say that they do have plans for making a Prince of Persia game for the current generation of consoles, but that's the only thing we have to go on. So who knows what the Sands of Time have in store for this franchise, but everyone is waiting for something big. And for all of your gaming needs, be sure to head over to Shacknews.com.